Hello everyone. Today we got to play Airlines Europe. So before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell and check out our new shirts. They'll be posted on the website very shortly. So tell us more about the game, Randy.
This is Airlines Europe. It has a Board Game Geek rating of 7.3. It's actually in the top 500 games on there. 2 to 5 players, 75 minutes average length, and age 13 up. Designed by Alan R. Moon. The artist was Christian Fiore. Publisher was Abacus Spiel, and then Rio Grande in the U.S. It's out of print. This came out in 2016, I believe. And it is, you can find it right now still, it looks like on eBay for roughly $60. Goes from that to up to 100. Board Game Geek Market had it for 100 in the U.S. and there's various translations of that in other countries.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's talk about quality pieces. So you do end up with the airplane little miniatures, and I think they're good little fighter planes. They're so that's kind of what they look like, is the fighter planes, not necessarily commercial. And then you also have the cardstock. It does have a linen finish.
They're pretty thin though. But
they are pretty thin, but they do have a linen finish.
They have a nice linen finish.
And then the other piece of it, they do have the paper money. We didn't actually end up using it this round.
I hate paper money.
Yeah, well, I think this would have ended very badly because of the amount of back and forth. I think the money is going to get damaged fairly quickly.
So I will say this is the perfect game for using my victory point tokens because it not only uses the money but also has really crummy victory point chips. So the victory point chips are these little cardboard chips, which I guess they're not. I mean, they're basically Puerto Rico chips. But the important thing is you have to hide them. And the victory point tokens I have one side printed, one side hidden. So they work really well. So this game, I got to demonstrate my chips. So that made me happy.
Yeah. So overall, though, quality of pieces, besides the airplanes, everything's pretty standard fare. So I think I'm going to probably give this a 6.5 because the card quality is a little bit better than Catan, not by much, and then the airplanes. What is your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't really like the city markers or the score markers. They look very old school.
I do think it's fun though that you can totally stack them.
Yeah, so
I don't know why that matters.
You're putting Stockholm on top of Berlin now.
Well, I meant for the player tracking, but because they're the same markers, which take for what you will.
Yeah, I don't think Sweden ever invaded Germany.
So what's your score for quality of pieces?
I'm probably right with you on a 6.5. I think that's a fair score. I don't think the board's nothing outstanding, and I don't like the score pieces, as I mentioned. The cards I do like, and that's about it. The planes are cool. So yeah, I'm pretty much the same as you.
All right, so moving on to theme. So the theme is that you're trying to connect different airports through different color of airlines. So each airline color is a airline company, and you're trying to make them the most expansive. However...
do you want the actual official theme?
Sure.
All right. The age of passenger aviation has begun. Courageous entrepreneurs establish the first airlines and compete for the few available licenses in the European airspace. The rapidly growing market and the chance for high gains attract high-powered investors, but only the ones that use their influence skillfully and their cash wisely will turn their investments into the most profitable airlines. Mm-hmm. That's it.
That's what I said.
You didn't say it like that.
No, I didn't. So the thing that kind of... These look like fighter planes. These don't look like passenger planes.
Yes.
So
to be fair, in the early days, everything was prop planes. They didn't have jet airplanes. So
I mean,
these are they do look like fighter planes.
So honestly, when I see them, I'm like, we're shooting all across Europe. This is World War II. Oh wait, no, we're not doing that.
I mean. They were smaller planes back then.
I know. So, I know. I just, for me now.
I guess it doesn't. Well, it's got 2 windows on it, and the fighter planes didn't have windows. The fighter planes.
Okay, I did see. Okay, I see some windows.
The old World War II, the pre-World War II planes were somebody dropping bombs out of a.
Yeah. So okay, fair enough. All right, sort of. But overall, I mean, you're trying to connect, or well, you're trying to expand the influence of the different companies, and you have stock and investment, and you're trying to move that forward. So overall, I think that's kind of cool. You know, there's something more though that could have been done for theme.
Yeah.
I don't. Something's
well, I mean,
missing.
this is a very basic game. There's not a lot to this game. It's
light to medium.
It's basically, if you're familiar with Ticket to Ride, it's a very economic variant of Ticket to Ride.
Except Ticket to Ride, you trying to go to from location to location. That is not the case here.
Yeah, in this case, you're just interested in building up the success.
Yeah, literally just expanding. Like your focus is expanding and not to any direction. You're just wanting to build places, hopefully with higher numbers. But to get the higher numbers, it has to be like because you always go to the cheapest one in the
now
line.
we're talking about gameplay.
But anyway, theme-wise, I don't know. Something's missing out of it. I can't necessarily put my finger on it. I think I'll give it a 6. It's something new, something a little different. But there was something that just didn't entrance me into it.
Yeah, I think 6 is probably about where I'm at as well. Thematically, it doesn't shine thematically. I mean, you're putting planes onto a board. And, it doesn't feel like you're in the 1930s, 1940s era.
What would have been cool is like plane development. Like if you had building up technology for trains or not trains, airplanes,
flying trains.
But yeah, there's things that they could have added that I think would have enhanced the theme, and that just wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to rules, it was very straightforward. You took
it's 8
like
pages,
5 minutes to
8
teach
pages
us,
long, but it's a very simple game. And there's no confusion. I mean, the rulebook is actually pretty nice. It goes through in detail the setup, and as most games do, has a nice picture of the board. It goes through and has more examples than you probably need on where you can and can't place things. I think just stating the fact that you have to play on the lowest number would have been sufficient. But if that isn't, it has check marks and X marks to show you where you can and can't play.
Well, they're just making sure.
Yeah. I think it's.
So what's your score on it?
I mean, it's decent. I'm probably give it an 8. I mean, it's not bad at all. It's pretty good, pretty well designed, and you really don't need a cheat sheet, but they do give you one. It's just a little cheat card that has 4 actions on it because that's all you get during the game.
I did like that. That's really all you need.
And then on the back it does have like the count of how many are in each set, which is also on the card. So it's but if you don't have the card in your hand, you at least can look at it and see.
Yeah, I will say the cheat sheet was spot on. It really is everything you need. So what was your score?
I give it an 8.
I would agree with that because of the thing. So moving on to gameplay. So gameplay is pretty straightforward. You have 4 different actions, which is you can purchase a 1 or 2 routes.
Yes,
routes. And so the coin cost is actually on the circle that you would place your plane, and you always have to go to the cheaper one in that route. Okay, so you pick a color.
Also similar to Ticket to Ride, there's more than one on most of the routes, the paths that you can take, but you can only be on one of the spaces per color, so you can't blockade.
Yeah. So then you do that. You can do that once or twice for that action, and you get 1 stock card for doing so.
Right. So I will point out that even though there's different colors of planes, you are not actually one of those colors. You are an investor into different color varieties.
Each color is a company.
So your goal is to invest in the most of these plane companies. You don't have any particular stake in one color that you're trying to see succeed the most, other than the fact that you've got the most invested in that.
Yeah. So then there is the B action, which is you get to place. So you'll have a hand of cards, right, that has the different stocks that you've collected either by purchasing airplane routes or by the starting deck, and you can choose 2 options. You can either play all of one color or 2 of different colors.
Yeah, one of each color.
Yeah, one of each color. So that's an option. And for every card that you place down, you get $10. No. 5. How much? $2.
Yes, inflation. You get $2
You get
per
$2
card.
for each card. But with that being said, do notice that typically to gain a card, you have to spend at least 3, and so you're automatically going to be losing money. But in one of the actions, and this is D, we're kind of skipping a little bit. D, one of the actions is just to get 8 money. So you're going to have to do that just by simple, pure math, is that you will be going after those 8 money sometimes. And then the last action is you can trade one of your stock cards in for a red stock card. And whoever gets the most, and those, it's again, it's a set collection kind of thing. So whoever has the most, and a 3-player gets 16, and so on. It goes down from there.
There's 3 scoring rounds, and it increments up each round, just like for all the others. And the stocks are going to. There's 3 scoring cards that are going to get mixed into the deck in 3 points. One at the first quarter of the game, one in the middle, and one at the end. The one at the end is shuffled into the last 10 cards, so you don't know exactly when it's going to come up.
All right, so that's the basic player actions. With that, so let's talk about this game. So there are, I think, 4 different routes that you are trying to get one color to, like, the city that the color starts, so the company, to the actual, to a different location. But there's only 4 of those.
There's 4, and it's also the 4 that have the fewest planes. So they tied it so that you basically, there's scarcity in certain ones of the planes more than others. And so then they added in the ability to reach the destinations similar to what you would have in a Ticket to Ride as far as your personal goal of getting to 2 different destinations. And it gives them a perk that lets them boost. Because one thing we didn't mention is when you place on the lowest cost, or whichever one is the route you get, whatever the number you paid, you get to move the stock up for that company in value. And then, based upon how far it goes up the track, is how many points you'll give for first, second, and third in the scoring of that.
Yeah.
So it is purely an economic game at heart. It's but a very basic one. It's not a complex one.
So the thing is, it's honestly, when Randy first explained to me this Ticket to Ride, I was like, okay, well, where am I trying to go? And the reality is, there is no way. Literally, you're just trying to build as many airplane units as you possibly can in the stocks that you have the most of, and trying not to benefit other players in that process. So there is that component to it where it is much more of an economic game. Now, I'm typically a huge fan of economic games, but this one, there was something that was missing in this. By the end of it, I was a little bored, and I hate to say it that way because there just wasn't enough for me for an economic game. Like, I had the stocks, I knew exactly where I was, and it just, I don't know, it just fell a little flat for me. I do think it is a great starter economic game, like if I'm trying to teach people stocks. Well, when I played this, by the end of it, I was like, I want to play Shoulders. What's that?
City of the Broad Shoulders.
City of the Broad Shoulders, because that's a stock game that it's Big Shoulders. That's the stock game that I'm like, yes, I want to go play that. So I feel like if I'm going to play a stock game and build companies, that's the game I'm going to go to.
Well, I'll say that one, if you don't like the cutthroat aspects of that kind of game, and you don't like really heavy games, because most of the economic games are heavy.
That's true.
This is a better option for you, maybe.
It is. I think I can agree with you on that one. This is a lighter version without the take that piece of it to it. So this actually may be a good alternative.
Well, there is one thing that take that, and I like that aspect, is the fact that you can stockpile a certain color of stock, let someone else build the value thinking they've got the dominant shares in it, and then drop it. The problem is you don't know when those scoring cards are going to come up. There's several times during the game where I was trying that very strategy with certain colors, and I got burned because the scorecard came up before I got to lay down my cards. So
and there's also something to be said about diversifying, because that way, even if you just get 1 point for a thing, even if you just have 1 in it, it made a lot more sense to do that. And so, like, early on, I think Andrew got it right. Like, he just had 1 of each, so at least he got all the leftover points, which ended up adding up. So
I got
still lost.
So he still lost, but
Yeah.
he wasn't that far behind.
Well,
so,
yeah, but I got really lucky in the fact that most of the white ones, which there's only 7, that's like the smallest one, I believe. That one I had 2 shares in the entire game, but most of them were below the final scoring card, so they never came up. So I was able to benefit from the white getting the most every time.
Well, I did that with orange, but then y'all.
But there was always that risk because I only had 2 shares in it. There was always the risk somebody was going to plop down a bunch of white.
And the thing that I didn't know, well, until you brought it up, is that this has 15. If I have 7 cards, I don't have to worry about the stock no more because at the end of the day, I'm always going to be the winner.
If you have 7, you still do. If,
if
one person's got them all.
Well, but 8. That's what I meant. And so I thought that was actually something that I did notice at the beginning of the game, and I wish I had, because then I think I would have opted for more of the scarcity cards because you need less of them, and cards are actually really hard to get because you have to purchase them. So I think I would have played it a little bit differently. So to say that it doesn't have any substance isn't true. There is a little bit there, but it is not a heavy financial game, which is the kind of stuff I like.
And you do have to kind of go with, like, you get a starting hand of 8 cards, and 2 of which you're going to start placing onto the table right away, that it kind of gears you to what you're going to be going for that game. But you don't have to stick to it, but at least it gives you a guide at the beginning of the game to know
where to kind of start.
Which of the airports you should be supporting the most. So airlines, not airports. But yeah, I there's aspects of this game I really like, but it's not meaty enough, like you said. I don't think it's got enough to it that it's going to hold my interest long.
Yeah.
As far as a good starter game for economics, though, I do think it has a purpose, and it does a good job of it.
I think that's the thing. At the end of the day, when we got done with it, I'm like, now I want to play a real financial game.
I think we have a bias because we've started playing some of those heavier games that this felt flat for us, because it wasn't. I don't think it's a bad game. I didn't think it was as bad as you did, and I thought it was. I'm probably more of a 6.5 to 7 on it. I don't think it's.
I'll give it a 6.5. I mean, well, maybe a 6, because and like I said, I know that if I'm gonna play a stop game, this is not the one I would choose.
Right.
But at the same time, if I had a certain crowd of people, I might actually end up bringing this out.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that's the thing. Is first of all, you don't just start with City of the Big Shoulders or Broad Shoulders.
No.
That's definitely not a starter game to try to learn how to play financial games.
Absolutely not.
And that's throwing you into the deep end of the pool right away. So playing something like this is a good way of working up. It's just like you wouldn't get an 18xx game out as your first train game.
I still have not played that, and I kind of want to play one.
Well, yeah. Okay, well, we know some people who are very hardcore players on that, so, I'm not sure I want to get that invested in it yet, because those people are, that's their focus in life, is playing those train games, and that's great for them, but...
I at least want to learn. I want to dabble my feet. I'm going to be at Gen Con, so if you have one... and I will totally play with you. Just let me know.
But yeah, I do think this is right for a lot of people. I mean, obviously it's in the top 500 on Board Game Geek.
You are absolutely right.
But as far as what we like, as far as financials, finance or economic type games, this one was missing a lot of the meat that we are used to. But I think that's okay sometimes to get a light game out and just enjoy it.
I mean, I wouldn't be scared to teach this to a couple of people, that
I think
definitely
your mom would.
Yeah, I think mom could handle this. I think dad would enjoy it. Again, it's not as meaty as some of the stuff that we like, but it might give you a balance that you can add a few more players to it. So, with that being said,
and I think it is a step up in complexity from like Ticket to Ride. I mean, if you're used to playing Ticket to Ride, this game is.
But the thing is Ticket to Ride has a goal. So I think the thing with me and why this is kind of lacking was the fact that there was no true direction. It was just, build as fast as you can, but there wasn't goals. Like, I almost wish I would have had an in-game bonus.
Well, I think you were both focused on the board aspect more than you were on the economic, building your stock portfolio the right way. And I think that might have been part of it, because the fact that I said it was like Ticket to Ride, but with economic aspects, might have been skewing you a bit. Because it may have geared you into thinking. into thinking, oh, I need to take over routes and things like this on the board, which really isn't that important other than making sure that you have a growth path.
Yeah, well, that's my thing is why even have the board with the map if it's not that important?
Well, it is, because you still have to be able to not get cornered, because if you get yourself cornered, you could not end up expanding. And
right, no, I mean, I get that aspect, and I think going into it, if I were to play it again, I would look at it differently, which may help my enjoyment factor. But at the end of the day, it's very draw card place of playing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of luck of what you get when you draw.
Yeah, so I just feel the strategy isn't where I typically like my economic games. So,
yeah.
But anyway, it's great for a starter game, absolutely. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We had a really great time. Hopefully you guys did too. Hopefully we'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.